out to have Rob on because I love talking about so much of what he's passionate about when it comes to leadership and high performance and growth mindset. With that being said, let's get him on here. Rob, how you doing, brother?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. It's a great, beautiful day. It's good to be here.
It is a beautiful day. You know what? Every day is a beautiful day when we're above ground and we're smiling. I guess I'll start with just give me like a snapshot of your journey to how you came to what you do now, which is, personal growth strategist and surviving the side hustle. And again, I don't know you personally, just read your bio, briefly talked to you off air, and I'm like, all right, cool. There's got to be a story to how Rob decided this is my passion, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'll give you the Spark Notes version for those who know what Spark Notes actually is. Young kid, parents got divorced at a young age, moved around a couple different school districts. It's very difficult to make and even harder to maintain friendships at a young age, especially when you're changing schools. So I was that kind of loner by myself, very poor at connecting with other individuals until we found a place called Highland, which we ended up calling home, a small little town upstate New York. And I became friends with a couple kids, very into video games like Pokemon cards, that kind of thing. Until my one friend, Sean, I was hanging out with him a lot. His dad was actually the youth football coach. So he encouraged me to come out to practice and play for him and the team. And I learned two things that day, that first day of football practice. The first thing I learned was you can't wear jeans to football practice. So that was like a little eye opener for myself. And the second thing I learned was I had noticed that the cooler kids who seemed to be more popular, they were able to run around. They knew the plays. They were good at the warm ups. They were all over the place. So I'm sitting here struggling to complete the warm up lap. And I'm definitely can't get through the push ups and things like that. But what I did internalize, I could do these stretches. I can do some of the stuff at home on my own. And from a young kid, having that awareness, I think that's pretty impressive. I took that into my own control and started doing the small things at home. And fast forward through the years, I started getting in better shape, started playing a little bit more, becoming a starter, then eventually a captain, leader of all the different teams I started playing through. Leadership in sports became part of my identity. Running through college, played a little bit of college football freshman year, shifted over to rugby, helped the rugby team win a state championship. And then I found myself leaving college and I was like, okay, well, sports became my new family, like ruined family or a broken family from birth. And then like my football team, rugby team, wrestling, lacrosse, all those teams no longer going to be there. So it was easy for me to just jump into strength and conditioning, getting in the gym, staying around, creating my own family, helping these athletes work to the same common goal, maybe a championship. Speeding up a little more down the road as I continue to grow and evolve as a coach, so too does my coaching. So then shifting from just in the gym with athletes to then working with the athlete's family, and then eventually getting into this stage where I was really burnt out. I was stuck in what I call robot mode. It's robots are great. They're very efficient at what they do. They get the work done. The problem is they lack the awareness. For now, I guess maybe with AI coming out, there maybe get some more. But when you're stuck in that robot mode, you don't realize what's going on around you. My life started falling apart, relationships, my health. As a strength and conditioning professional, it's supposed to reflect that. And out of shape, slow, sluggish, no friends. And then business started suffering because all I was caring about was filling the schedule. I had to take a step back, reflect on what was going on. At the same time, my dad passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I tried to bury that with more work, and I lasted for about another year until I was denied that schedule, that full schedule. And in that little bit of brief time, that opened a window for awareness and reflection to come back in. And that's when I decided I needed to change. And then that's when the whole prime performance coaching kind of started and began to evolve. And now it's a place for me to help other individuals who are feeling stuck, isolated, burnt out, low energy, and really take a grasp on their personal development that leads them to professional success.
Yeah, it's interesting. And sorry about you losing your dad. That's a painful way to watch that happen, I'm sure. But it is fascinating to me how when people are stuck, burnt out, just not feeling their best, how it's usually something kind of bad or tragic or something that spurs them on to say, "All right, I'm not really living the way I need to be living. Let's get this figured out." So tell me, I want to take back to that mindset. Not that that's the fun place to be, but I think this is what I want to speak to with people listening right now, people going through it. They're getting their ass kicked right now. They felt the way you did, Rob, where it's like, man, I'm supposed to be a strength and conditioning coach, and I'm out of shape, and I don't feel good about myself. I guess the direct question is, what would you say to those people when you put your mindset back to where you were? What stemmed you to say, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to start living. I'm going to get back to living my best life.
Yeah, well, when you're in that mode, or you're in that like situation, it's tough because I was ignorant to what was going on around me. I didn't want to pay attention. As long as I had my schedule filled, I didn't care about taking care of my body. I didn't care about what I was eating, what I was consuming, who I was with, because for me it was just work, 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 work. But once I had that brief second where, okay, I don't have a schedule, what do I do with myself? Now there's nobody around, nobody wants to hang out with me because I'm always saying I'm busy. And having that minute or two for myself to kind of sit and be with myself, it was tough. It was uncomfortable. And sometimes you got to go through that little bit of uncomfortability just so you can kind of reflect and open your eyes to what is actually going around you at the time, paying attention to what's happening. And like from there, that's when I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. I'm too comfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to change, which a lot of people kind of go through. They experience that. That's why so many people stay where they're at. And I needed to go through that discomfort to kind of flip the switch and be like, hey, something does need to change now.
All right. So we find some time for ourselves. We start to get present. Now we start to learn, I'm guessing, what you value. I'm guessing you're a pretty busy guy now, just because once you start getting back into what you're doing, it's, I mean, it's go time. And now people do want to be around you. Now you're kind of back in it. How do we keep perspective? A, is that true what I said? Is it all about, just filling that calendar? Or did you figure something different where you're like, you know what? I don't have to be busy 70 hours a week or whatever your number was to be successful. In fact, I would argue maybe that's not the most successful thing. What does that look like for you to really keep this perspective of not wanting to go back to that place, yet wanting to be successful, be driven, helping as many people as you can? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think it's the awareness of your goals and what you're trying to do. When I was younger, it was just making more money, and I was just focused on, okay, how do I fill that? And once I get to this milestone, is how do I get to the next one, and then how do I get to the next one? And then once you're trading your time for money, you can only make so much money unless you can level up how much you're costing and things like that. But at that time, it was just push, 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 push. And what I needed to really focus on was what was more money bringing to me. So I just thought of it because I was more money, more attention from friends, family. Oh, it's a badge of honor that I'm working so much and I'm making more money. And what I was really seeking for was that attention. I wanted that support, that family, that like everybody being around. And I was chasing the wrong thing. So then once I realigned my goals to what I really wanted and paying attention and setting boundaries for certain things, that allowed me to kind of push and grow in new ways so I can continue to make more money, continue to make more impact, and still live my life, not just the life of my job.
I'm going to shift gears just for a second because I'm painting the picture now. I'm seeing kind of, all right, this dude with, early on, figured out working out, playing athletics. Okay, found myself. Then that stops. Now I'm starting to help people. Then I go into this lull again. And you have this show called Surviving the Side Hustle. clearly there's a story there, because you wouldn't just call that, that this is something that you obviously experience. And I think side hustles obviously have become, with people looking to become entrepreneurs, especially since the pandemic. I mean, it was like everybody and their dog, all right, it's all about a side hustle. So your show title is very apropos to, I think, what a lot of people are going through. Talk to me about why you named the show that. What's it all about, brother? Because I think many people are like, yeah, man, fuck. I want to survive this side hustle. Not only do I want to survive, I want to thrive.
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what the whole show is about. It's about connecting and highlighting the guests and the other entrepreneurs, and it's not just the successful, the guys who are like scaling up to millions and millions and millions. It's also the guys who are just starting out, who are going through the challenges that many of us are going through with like marketing, getting attention. How do they structure things, and what are the common mindset challenges? What are the common like things that they're going through on a day-to-day basis? So that the listeners can connect and relate to the different stages so that they can kind of get a taste for what's to come. So then they can kind of also reflect on what they've gone through. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I had this, when I first had to hire my first coach, or I needed to hire a team that'll help me with social media or something like that. So it's a great spot to learn from, to reflect on, and just connect with others.
I'm sure the stories are pretty profound. I'm curious, what have you found? What are the themes, brother? And again, I want people to go check out your show. But I'm curious, what are some of those themes that you're seeing where, yep, there's a pattern here. This is clearly happening. And I'm wondering, because I talk about just starting to move the body, and it sounded like that might have been impactful for you too, where it's like, all right, I can't control everything around me, but I can control at least this part of me. I can control my health. I can wake up early, go to the gym, or I can control what I'm putting in my mouth, which makes my body feel better. I'm curious, maybe I'm given one, but is there some of those patterns that you're seeing where it's like, gosh, I wish everybody would do these top three things to really get out of that burnout or feeling stuck?
Yeah, yeah. So my coaching is basically three phases or three dimensions: helping people look good, feel good, and do great things. And in the looking good, it's all about building that physical and mental resiliency. So both you got to have the strength to physically go through long hours. Some days are going to be longer than others, but in the entrepreneurial world, you don't really know necessarily what might pop up any given day. And then the same thing, you need to be mentally tough too, because same situation, like you might like a long day, people you might lose a couple clients, or you might bring on a bunch of new clients. You never really know, but the important thing is the more resilience you have, the better you're able to kind of flow with the punches. You'll be able to handle what every day throws at you. And then the next part or next half of the looking good is the intentional consumption. So obviously we know what we eat kind of reflects, because we are what we eat. So the meals that we're consuming are either going to help us energize or slow us down. But the other side of the coin is the media. So what kind of books, what kind of music are you listening to? What is your digital diet look like, as well as your nutritional diet? Because that is also what's going to help motivate and inspire, and also allow us to recharge too. And it's about that intentional component, because it, I've been in situations where I was like, okay, I'm not watching any more TV, no junk TV, no nothing. All I'm doing is either listening to podcasts, books, or coaching courses. And I was in a state where all I was doing was consuming, because I just replaced my entertainment or my downtime um, content with just more educational stuff. So when I thought I was learning, I was actually just entertaining and turning my brain off, not really absorbing anything. And I was stuck in this weird state where, yeah, I'm absorbing so much information, but I can't remember what that book was about or anything from here. And because of that, I wasn't able to actually produce or create anything. So it's important to intentionally like schedule in downtime where you can relax, watch a fun movie, or go out and listen to music and just chill. It doesn't need to just be 100% on like business, 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 because then you're going to burn out. Same thing.
Yeah, it is funny how we have this knee jerk reaction. It's like, all right, man, I'm going to do everything just this way. And guess what? There's some fallout to that too. you
Yeah.
might be setting yourself up for some failure. It's like, look, I'm never drinking again. Well, if you enjoy wine, give yourself the grace to have a glass of wine. It's
Yeah.
not this thing, but gosh, I hear people do it so often. I want to talk about your daily habits that really help you win. And I know that people like, really, we're going to talk about a routine. Yeah, yeah, I think this is important. Where what are some of those tips? And again, I don't subscribe to everyone gets up at 5 a.m. I understand some people do, and it works really well for them. However, there's the other side of the coin where some people get up at 11 and they're crushing it too.
Mhm.
For you specifically, Rob, what are you doing for yourself? And then what do you kind of coach on so that it's not a one size fits all? Because I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just that's kind of again naive to think, okay, this is the stock standard box that everybody fits in and this is the way it's going to work. That doesn't work either. So your habits, and then what do you kind of coach on to help your clients really find their way?
Yeah, right now for myself, when I wake up, roll out of bed, shave, shower right away, and then I get into a little bit of a reflection practice for what happened yesterday. Like just off the top of the head, what do I remember? What really stuck out? And then I get into a short gratitude practice, and then I'm out the door. I'm going to connect with clients. I'm starting my day. Either I'm getting a workout in, I'm moving, and right now it's pretty short and sweet for me by my standards. And I've not always been like that. That's just this is where I'm at with my current season for my business. There have been other times where I'd get up and I practice my Duolingo, working on my Spanish. I do my gratitude. I do my meditation. I make my lunch. I get some sunlight. I go for a walk. I do all those things. And when I was in a period where I was like, oh, I need the perfect morning routine, I started stacking up all of these different habits until I had like this long like grocery list of things I needed to do. But then if I was traveling for a speaking gig or if I had a workshop I needed to teach in a different time zone, my schedule would get all screwed up. And then in my head, I'd be too frazzled because I'm like, oh, I didn't get that 10 minutes of Spanish practice in, or, oh man, I didn't write like 3 gratitude things. So my gratitude's all screwed up for the day. And I ended up becoming a slave to my own routine. And that took a little bit of a time for me to adjust to it. I got to pay attention to what's working for me for right now, pay attention to what works. And sometimes it's got to change. And that's an ever flowing and changing thing, just like everybody else. Different seasons call different things.
I think this is really important, and here's why. He's absolutely right, guys. My morning routine has evolved and changed. My evening routine evolves and change. Cool. Here's what I would say, and I hope that we can address this a little bit further, Rob. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of I should. There's a lot of it's hard to explain, but I love what you said. Like I became a slave to my routine. Gosh, brother, I can resonate with that so much. So mine currently is like 2.5 hours, and I know it's too long, honestly. And to your point, when I travel, I've had to learn to give myself some grace. So, for instance, I have my little I voted sticker on today. And all that meant is that screwed up a little bit of what my morning routine literally usually looks like because I set it up pretty early in the morning. I wanted to get all my stuff done. It didn't happen. And now I'm doing some work. Now I'm doing a podcast. It's like, well, shoot, JM, you didn't get your meditation in. You didn't get your breathing exercise in. And in the past, that would have, like you said, frazzled me. But now I'm like, yeah, man, I'll get to it. And I know how great it feels when I do it. But you don't have to do anything other than eat, breathe, sleep, and have shelter. That's the thing. It's funny as a coach that I want to really impress upon people is like, yes, you should do these things. However, give yourself some grace. I don't know what did that look like for you, brother? As because I know you mentioned it, and I'm like, I just want to get into the mindset of, did it take you a little bit to break that and be like, dude, you don't have to do anything. Yes, choose to if you can, but it's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I consider myself pretty aware of what I'm going on, what I've got going on, and what I'm doing constantly. But no, it was a mentor of mine by Brett Bartholomew. I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of his work over at Art of Coaching, but I was talking to him because I was traveling for one of his things and I was all messed up with my schedule. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? You have the routine to better you. You don't want it to control you. So like, just get done what you need to be getting done and move on. Get your day started and go about your business. And that's why recently I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of hanging out, chilling out. Things have been really great for me recently. Going to a lot of sporting events, socializing. I'm comfortable with a lot of things that are going on. So a new habit that I just introduced into my morning routine is with my showers. I usually do a cold blast at the end of my shower to just get myself ready and hop out. But now I'm doing a cold blast in the beginning. So as soon as I get in, it's cold and it really shocks me. It's really uncomfortable, but I'm choosing to introduce a little discomfort into my day to kind of sharpen me back up and then get back into the things so I can get right into the work.
Yeah, it sucks, by the way, what he's doing. Trust me, I've done this so many times. I hate cold showers. I hate them. I really do. But I love cold plunging. And here's my point to this. He is choosing something that, in my opinion, is literally the worst thing. When that cold water hits your head and it slowly drips on you, that sucks, man. Like that is truly doing hard stuff. Cold plunge, I'm like, cool. It's gonna suck for 30 seconds, and then it's gonna be euphoric, and it's amazing. It's like my favorite thing to do every single day outside of my breathing exercise. But talk to me about doing hard things. I know you mentioned it early. You talked about building that mental resilience. It sounds like when you're at the gym, not only is it you working out your body physically, but it's really working out your mind as well. Why is this so important for you to do hard things, man? Talk about it, because I know it's probably basic and you're like, yeah, man, doing hard things yields good results. But I think often people, we want to avoid things that suck. It's like, I don't want to do that. But I'm just curious on your thoughts on why you're choosing to introduce this into your life.
Yeah. Do you know? I mean, I'm gonna butcher the saying, but it's like hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and then weak men create hard times. So if I'm just constantly always creating hard times for myself, I'm just gonna continue. I'm just gonna reset that loop right to where I want it to be, going into the strong men, which then goes into the easy times. So if I can bypass that hard time or that those times, the weak man, by just jumping right back to the hard times, then I think that's like a little cheat code for myself. Are you familiar with the term misogi?
What is it? Masogi?
Yeah.
No, I'm not actually.
So I believe it's a Japanese concept where at the you try to dedicate something super hard and kind of sum up like your entire year. I do this. My birthday is in December, so it's coming up. Every year I try to do something where I push myself so hard that it's like kind of expands me. If I succeed, great. Then I'm hitting the next year on a high. I'm really amped up. If I don't succeed, then at least I'm really pushing. And as long as I constantly go all the way through to the end, then it's a big win for me. A couple of years ago, I did this charity event where I had to run a marathon. I've never ran a marathon before in my life. And every mile that you complete, you're supposed to do like 150 reps of different exercises or something. So that took me all day and I made it through it, completed it, and I was super stoked for it. So last year, birthday was coming around. I decided, all right, I'm going to try something even harder. I'm going to run for as far as I can for 24 hours and see how far I can get. So I go out and dude, it was tough. I mean, I don't like running. I used to run a lot when I was younger, but now I don't do any of it. I'm a big walking kind of person. So me going out running, pushing it, my legs were swelling. I thought my legs were going to explode at one point. But finally, once the time settled and the dust was all like chilled out, I successfully completed 53 miles in that 24 hours. So I was pretty amped. Um, but also I was a little disappointed because in my head I was trying to do the math and I was expecting to get to 100 miles or at least close to 100 miles, and I failed miserably. But I still set like a personal best for myself. I still raised money for charity, and I learned something about myself. I need to train a little bit harder and take things a little more seriously. I'm not the spring chicken that I used to be. I can't just pick up and run and do everything. So there's a lot of lessons there, and I try to instill those on some of my clients and share them with people because I still pushed myself and I learned a lot. I made myself a better person through it. That's what I feel like pushing yourself and doing hard things yields.
Yeah, there's so many good things that I love that you brought this up. So this is so interesting because all right, dude went out and ran 53 miles in 24 hours. Okay, I literally I threw up my mouth several times while you talked about it. That sucks, man. Like at no point I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And yet he had set an expectation of 100 miles. This is why this is so important. Expectations so often, there's no reason for Rob to think, yep, I'm going to do 100 miles. That's literally something he created in his head, even though he's not probably training for it. You said you don't run a lot. And so you set some expectation that's completely arbitrary. And yeah, the initial reaction is, gosh, I failed. You ran 53 miles. That in no way, shape, or form was a failure. And I bring this up because I see people do this so often. They're actually succeeding, but yet they forget to reward themselves and focus on the win. I'm not saying you didn't do that, but I love that you brought that up, that it was like, I really thought I should get 100. Why? Where the hell would you come up with that number other than 100 sounds pretty cool? And I want people to hear this because I see people in business all the time. They're actually making progress, and then they will come in and just take it all away, focus on what they didn't do, the 47 miles they didn't get done from some arbitrary goal, instead of the 53 they did. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do the same thing I did. I took the math. I went out, I ran like 2 miles, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's pretty decent. As long as I can maintain a pace, I should be able to get to mathematically. I should be able to get to 100. I came out the gate hot. Experienced strength and conditioning coach. Didn't train at all. My longest run in training was 5 miles, and I went out and I was like, you know what? If I just slow down my pace, I could totally do it. But I got excited. I ran the first 16 miles without even having any water. I was like running and I like called up my girlfriend. I was like, hey, do you think you could bring down some water? I forgot to forgot to get some water. So that was interesting. And then I just kind of kept pushing. And then I got to a point where I was like moving at such a snail pace. And I was like, man, I think I'm doing more damage than good. I need to kind of slow down, but keep going. But like, I need to adjust what I'm doing. And then there was a harsh reality of like, oh man, I'm not going to get anywhere close to that. So it was a tough pill to swallow, but it was a good lesson.
Yeah, I just everyone listening, look at your expectations you're setting. Do they even make any damn sense? And celebrate your wins. 53 miles in 24 hours. You know how many people have done that? Very few in the world. So it's actually an incredible accomplishment. Just be mindful of these crazy expectations we set. Kind of last question before I start to wrap up. Obviously, my name of my podcast is Let's Go Win. When I say the word winning or win, what does that mean to you, brother?
Yeah, first thing I think of is imagery of like getting together in a huddle, everyone celebrating, throwing the hands up, the helmets up, and to me that kind of says a bunch of things. It's success, obviously, that should be pretty forward there, but it's also community, team, hard work, because I'm always looking to like connect with other individuals, trying to win together, because I feel like, I feel like it's kind of cliche that like everyone's saying collaboration is the new currency, but I really believe that like winning together, working together, there's like success comes in many different shapes and forms. So understanding what winning for myself is it's around other people and doing great things.
Yeah, I love it. And look, his first imagery is celebrating. It's kind of the theme of this. Guys, celebrate your wins. If you're focusing on the negative, I promise there's plenty of it there. But if you're focusing on some positive, there's a ton there too. Rob, you're a fascinating man. I appreciate the way you show up. For my listeners that want to go check out Surviving the Side Hustle, or what you're doing, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, the easiest place to touch base with me or ask me any questions or anything is just on social media or LinkedIn. Just my name, Rob Tracz. It's the handle for socials. And yeah, I'm open for different things. Podcasts, you can check that out at survivingsidehustle.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate you. You brought so much to the table. Honestly, so many mindset things. Obviously, I can see how you're helping many, many people in your coaching. So thank you for being here and showing up the way you did.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you carving out the time to have me on.
Guys, the theme of this show, there's three of them that I can see. One is celebrate your wins. Two, go do something hard, challenge yourself. It's good for the soul, it's good for the mind, it's good for the body, all of those things. And the third is just give yourself some grace. My goodness, this guy was a college athlete and he had to learn at some point to give himself some grace again. You're not alone. We all have done that. So many golden nuggets. Share this out with someone you know, love, and care about. This is a great episode. I appreciate y'all. Until next time, make sure you're taking care of you and yours, and we'll talk to you soon.